Hey, welcome back to the Joe Silverback Show. Today's conversation is going to be man alone in primitive wild places. I just came back from the mountains. I spent 5 nights and 5 days in solitude, in my cabin alone, hiking down into this ravine. Bear scat, mountain lion scat, mice scat, salmon scat. It's a pretty primitive, wild place, and it's something that I have put on my to-do list more and more each season. So I have my seashore that I live at and where I spend a lot of my time writing. I have my canyons that I hike and know like the back of my hands, some very private, cool places that I get to hike and meditate and be by myself and do my writing in. And I spend more and more time each week in these places. But all of the places around me are still within the city limits. So there's a different kind of experience that I want you guys to have that I have had so much of, and I am now regaining control of not having children to take care of, so I can have a lot more free time to do that. So quarterly, I want to have at least 2 weeks each quarter where I am going to primitive place. And one of those weeks, I want to be totally alone. Totally alone. Not my wife, not my children, not my buddies. 1 week, I can be with others, and 1 week I want to be totally alone. Now, if I can expand that into a month, a quarter, that would be even better. But for right now, I am cool with 2 weeks a quarter and 1 week alone and 1 week either alone or with others. And during that, so let me just tell you my time alone instantaneously, just like it is for all of us, we open up to all those wonderful dreams, visions, quests, adventures, heroic ideas that we have planted the seeds for along the way. And being alone helps them come to fruition and usually allows us to vow and make commitments to ourselves. Secondly, a man finds deep strength, maybe his deepest strength, by being alone with himself and his thoughts. Because thoughts are powerful, and thinking is an incredible gift. And it's one of the most pleasurable gifts that we have, and when we discover it, it becomes even that much more pleasurable. But to be alone with our thoughts for 24 hours is so empowering, men. It is so empowering. One of the most empowering things of all is that if you're like me and you're in a love relationship with a woman, as all my sons when we got together after my alone time say, you're whipped, you're whopped, you're controlled by your woman. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just the nature of things. And women control us. We don't control them. No matter what the conversation is, we know that if a woman knows how to put a good plate of food in front of us, and if she knows how to wear her beautiful, cute little things just right, we're whooped. So, being alone gives a man connection to the fact that there's something other than his woman that gives him power and strength and purpose in life. We know about work. We'll talk about work another day. But I'm talking about the human love connection where a man is dependent upon his woman for his sense of self-worth in terms of being loved and feeling loved. When you're alone in wild, primitive nature, you're rejuvenated by a sense of spirit that is deep inside of you, and you are reconnected to your primitive beginnings, and you're also connected to a sense of oneness and wholeness with the state of nature, your nature inside and the wild nature outside you. And that, if you don't run away from it, if you go into it, that is empowering. And what do you find through that? You find the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is your journey. It's my journey. It's our journey, alone without our woman. And only when we follow it alone do we then reinvigorate our maleness, our manliness, our heroic journeyness, our sense of adventure. And only then do we have a sense that I won't die without my woman. I'm not dependent upon my woman like I'm going to cry like a little baby, which a lot of us, me especially, are reduced to when we have beautiful women who take care of us and we depend upon them. Now, I can be having this conversation in reverse, and there's different things that women get from men, etc., etc. But this is what I'm talking to you men. I'm talking to myself. You also have to get to a point where you don't call your woman during this time. You'll be tempted to for her. She'll make you promise to do it. You'll be tempted to for yourself out of sheer loneliness and this agony of wanting to be self-reflected and self-patted on the back and all these things. But I want you to find a deeper strength by being alone and being comfortable with being alone that makes your woman understand that you do need her, but you do need this something for yourself only, that she can't have, that she can't touch. Whew. It's powerful, guys. It is nothing. There is nothing that comes close to this sense of self-empowerment. I made a picture of the room where I was. So when I did get back and I did allow my woman to have some sense of experience of what I had, and I haven't done it yet because I just got back, I'm going to show her some pictures. One of the pictures is of the messiest cabin you can imagine. 5 cups of coffee a day, no one telling me to limit it, my books everywhere, my clothes everywhere, the bed not made, and I was just doing guy stuff. Because I was leaving in the morning, I was coming back late at night. You know what I lived on? It was all day, maybe 8 hours a day out in the wilderness before coming back at night to the cabin. It was freezing. I mean, there was snow. I wasn't prepared for camping out, but I will camp out. But where I was, I was prepared for rain, but not snow, and it snowed, and it was frickin' cold. But I would take my beef jerky and I would take my salami log, and I had my USMC protection knife, man killer knife, bear killer knife, salami cutter with me, and water and a lemon. That sustained me for 8 hours. Then when I got home, I would make a massive meal, and I would be exhausted from being outdoors all day, hiking on rocks, hiking through creeks, hiking through rivers, hiking up and down mountains. Now, second thing, when you are in primitive, wild nature, you know that any time you can be consumed by a predator. You have that at the back of your mind. You have that at the nape of your neck. You're constantly alert and to that. So when I found a place to write by the river, which that's one of my passions. I found a boulder that I had to get to. There was a sandy beach there, and then it was kind of in the middle of a river. And when I got there, I could stand up. I'd have a 360-degree view of everything. And there's only one place that an animal could get onto it, and I would hear them and then see them coming long before, and they would have to make a leap to get up to it. And I'm telling you this because I had my plan to protect myself and to kill anything before it killed me. And if you go into wild, primitive places like I was in, and you do not have a plan to be able to kill something before it kills you, you're just a dumbass, and you're an idealist, and I'm sorry, I must apologize. You could go with your Buddha viewpoint, and you could go with your sentient being viewpoint, which I have, which maybe you decide that you want to meditate and see if that bear will stop, coming. But we just got done with wintertime, and it was the peak of spring, and I know too many horror stories of fools not being prepared in the wild. So I myself have a warrior spirit as well as a Zen spirit, and I say to myself, there's a time to meditate, and there's a time to stick a knife in somebody's throat before he takes your throat. That's all. If that's too intense, I wouldn't go into primitive places that I'm talking about. I would stick to the canyons and nature preserves around a city that are, maybe you'll run into a snake, but you won't run into a mountain lion or a bear. And I did see bear scat on this trip. It was dry and old, but I don't know how old, and I don't know how dry, because it had been raining a lot. All I can tell you is that I was in places where it would be freaky to have seen another human being, because first of all, I go before the season when anyone's there. Second of all, I went into a place that's extremely difficult to get to. For the average person who would be coming to the rivers where I was, there was no boating opportunities. These were just some rare fly fishing individuals, and the river was so raging strong that most fly fishing men weren't ready, and it was raining every day. So I had to be prepared for a lot. So okay, I'm coming to my 15 minutes here. I want to reiterate that wild, primitive nature is something that quarterly, if you can, put it on your calendar to have a weekend. You don't have to go as long as I do, and you can bring a buddy with you. And then what you could do is you could start with maybe just 4 hours by yourself. I'm trying to get young guys to stop feeling they gotta always take their girlfriends or always take, another guy, because there's something deeper and more profound and powerful that shapes our lives when we actually take the plunge to be with ourselves, to find what we're afraid of, to overcome the fear, to find what makes us anxious, to overcome the anxiety, to find what makes us sad and lonely, and overcome the sadness and the loneliness. Namaste.